since I left the city, you got a reputation for yourself now. Everybody knows and I feel left out. Girl, you got me down, you got me stressed out. Cause ever since I left the city, you started wearing less and going out more. Glasses of champagne out on the dance floor. Hanging with some girls I never seen before. You used to call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love. Call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love. I know when that hotline blink, that can only mean one thing. I know when that hotline blink, that can only mean one thing. Ever since I left the city, you and me, we just don't get along. You make me feel like I did you wrong. Going places where you don't belong. Ever since I left the city, you got exactly what you.
Hey. It's Tuesday night. Thought I wasn't going to make it, but I did, so glad to be here. Want to discuss something it's been in the news, and I've just been on Facebook and seeing all the comments from both sides. And so I got to say something about it. And we're talking about the Sun Valley police officer, Ben Fields, who body slammed the young lady. Everybody's got their opinions of what they think and about what happened. And we're going to kind of discuss those topics. But first, we're going to do as we usually do. We're going to get out here and do our advertising. But first, I'm going to turn this fan off. I'm getting a little feedback. Sorry about that. Okay. So we're going to do our advertisement. We're going to start off with Rochelle Millsap. She's a RE/MAX agent. Give her a call. She can help you with your real estate needs, mostly residential, but I'm sure she can connect you with someone on a commercial basis if that is your need. Next, we're going to say it's the King Cubby Daycare, located in Chicago, Illinois, 8825 South Colfax. Accepting children from ages of 6 weeks to 12 years old. Reach out, give them a call. Their number's at the bottom of the website. It's 773-364-491. Kevin King, spoken word artist. He has a book out, has a CD out. The CD's called I Am Characters, available on iTunes and CD Baby. The book, Characters Book of Poetry, is on Amazon. Great things happening for this brother. Reach out to him. I'll share a little quick piece with you, give you a little idea of what he's.
I see new faces in old places. Places I grew up called home. And these faces in old places are faces not of my skin tone. Yet they come from various places, do these faces, to purchase themselves new spaces in these vacant places, which have now been renovated, upgraded, upscaled, and updated.
Ready to implode on impact. And there are many in my family like me, better than me, all is deadly. And we can either be friend or foe. It all depends on who stands behind you though. And if so, who knows where the heart is at? But lately, it's been cold black. And the
Again, reach out, check that brother out. I am Richard Robinson. I am the owner and operator of RPC Computing, located in Lansing, Illinois. 773-416-2955. RPC is your PC. Repairs, upgrades, and consultations. So we got that out the way. So we want to get right into what we're talking about today. And I guess everybody's going to have an opinion. And I'm just going to state one opinion right up front. I don't approve of any adult putting their hands on a child in the way that this man put his hands on a child. I'm sure there were extended circumstances, and everybody has their opinion. So first, I'm gonna share a clip with you first off, because there is an FBI investigation that's pending now. So I'm gonna share this video with you.
It was 11 a.m. algebra class at Spring Valley High School in Columbia, South Carolina. Authorities say a 16-year-old female student was being disruptive. Some students say she was texting, chewing gum. She's asked to leave, but refuses. Finally, a school resource officer is called to the classroom. He walks over to the student, shuts her laptop, and moves it away. She refuses several more times. That's when the situation escalates.
Okay, you're gonna come with me or am I gonna make you?
That second video shot by another student shows the officer slamming the student to the ground. He grabs her arm, she puts her arm up, then his other arm goes around her neck and he violently flips her desk, dragging her across the room and detaining her until she is released to her parents.
Hands behind your back.
Give me your hands, the officer repeats 4 times. You can see the other students frozen, watching in silence. Sophomore Tony Robinson, who was in the class and shot this video, tells us he was terrified.
Everybody was scared. When Deputy Fields came in there, we all knew what was soon, about to happen.
One student did try to defend her classmate, stepping in only to be arrested herself.
They got her out the classroom, and then he came back and he was like, "You want some of this too?" And then he just said, "You going to jail too." And he put me in handcuffs, and I just walked out. Like, I didn't try to resist or anything. He just put me in handcuffs.
The school resource officer identified as 34-year-old Ben Fields, a deputy sheriff and football coach at the high school. Last year, he was honored for being an exceptional role model, but there have been red flags. He's been sued in the past. In 2007, Fields was accused of using excessive force. In that case, the jury sided with Fields. Tonight, the FBI has been called in to aid in the investigation. The sheriff department's interviewing students and reviewing all videos, including one they say shows the student striking the officer with her fist. School officials are outraged.
What we all watched on that shamefully shocking video is reprehensible, unforgivable, and inconsistent with everything that this district stands for.
School district officials call the...
There you have it. I'm sure everybody's seen this video about 10, 20 times. And we have a lot of people on the side of the officer. Let's get this straight. Young lady was in the wrong. When an authority figure, whether that's a teacher or whoever, gives you a command to get up and get your books and leave, that's what she should have done. But that's not what we're talking about. Some things that disturb me, and this is just from my black perspective. I'm not going to watch a black officer do anything to anybody and not at least say something. But you see what happened to the young lady that did speak up. She had more guts than all the males, including the teacher that was standing in the class. Very upsetting to me that they weren't like, "Hey, don't do it like that," or something. That's what we're raising in society now. That bothers me to see something like that. Then you got people saying, "Oh, well, she was striking the officer." Yeah, that was right after the chokehold he put on her. then she started hitting, kind of like Eric Gardner, who wasn't striking any officers, but he still wound up being put in a chokehold and murdered. Let's not forget that. So this young lady was being defiant. From what I know, she had recently lost her mother, had foster parents. They said she was in the class, being disruptive. Years ago, this type of behavior didn't go on. When I was a young man in school in the 70s and 80s, the teachers had full reign to discipline you, and your parents made sure that they let the teacher know, hey, this person gets out of line, you can straighten them out. I'm not sure about other states, but I believe in 1994 in Illinois, corporate punishment was taken out of the school system. And there's pros and cons to everything, because at one point, I know my generation, we were in control. You didn't see a whole lot of this. I mean, it happened here and there, but you never saw a whole lot of it. Now, my question is, where's the counselor that's supposed to be at the school, the principal, and the teacher? Between these three people and calling her foster parents, you couldn't have found a better way to get her out of the class? I hear this thing all the time, and there's this guy, I can't remember his name right off, and he's always saying, don't call the police. Because as soon as you call the police, their job is to come in and get control of the situation. And we've seen a lot of people with mentally challenged children and things like that, and those children wound up dead because the police come in, just like this guy comes in, brute force. This girl with a threat. This man looks like he's about 240. This child looks like she's maybe about 150. There was no threat there. She didn't jump up and beat him. He took her laptop, he moved it over to the side. He asked her to leave. She didn't leave. Like I say, a police, they're going to show their authority, just like we're hearing all the time now. Comply or die. In this case, comply or get beat down. He was totally out of line. I don't care what nobody says. The officer was totally out of line. As you heard from the video, this was not his first time having an incident. He already had 2 lawsuits pending, and one has been cleared. But you know that goes without saying. Officers are going to protect officers, and the system is going to protect officers. One point I like to make is, you probably won't ever see this happen to a white kid, and I don't want to make it a race issue, but the reason you probably won't see this happen to a white kid, because most of the time when there's a situation like this with a white kid, they're scared to put their hands on them, because that white kid parents may be lawyers, may be a judge, may be an authority figure that can get you in trouble. It's not the same when you're dealing with black kids. At least that's the way they put it out. But I don't think it was racial. The man's got a black girlfriend. Who cares? This attitude has been long gone with this guy. I'm going to share another video with you of a brother who was an Army veteran, and he had an encounter with this guy. I'm going to share this with you.
I'm going to roll a clip.
I live maybe like 4 or 5 miles away from base. I get out my car, I walk to my door, everything's normal. As I'm putting the keys in the door, I hear a car peel off. Naturally, my reaction was going to be, I was going to turn around to see what was going on in the situation. As I turn around, Officer Ben Fields gets out of the car. I didn't know his name at the time. He gets out the car, and the officer is running towards me. Hey you, come here. I'm like, who, me? He was like, yeah, you. I'm out here for a noise violation. And I was like, okay, well, it couldn't have been me. I just got home. He asked me for my license and registration. I handed my license and registration. The problem was when I was in Germany, I lost my picture ID. I was an Alaska resident, so Alaska sends you a paper license when you don't have your picture license. So I give him my paper license, my German license, and my registration. I even pointed out to the fact that on my tags, I still had German tags on my car because I was just moving to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I was stationed. He got a little upset. I guess he didn't understand the paperwork that I gave him. He was like, well, what the hell is this? I was like, dude, if you just calm down, you can see that I have German tags on my car. And he interrupted me in the middle of the conversation. And he was like, you are not addressing me as dude. I'm a Richland County officer of the law. I was like, well, you address me by, hey, you. He was like, well, that's because I don't know your name. And I was like, well, sir, I don't know your name either. And next thing you know, wham, he slams me to the ground and starts beating on me, hitting on me, punching me. He takes out his can of mace. He uses a whole can of mace on me. And he became more violent because I didn't react like the normal civilian. Well, I'm not a normal civilian. In this whole situation, I was in my military uniform. I don't even blame him. I blame the people who allowed him to do it because it's not the first time he did it. He's continuously did it. So it's just not Officer Fields being wrong. It's Sheriff Lott. It's whole department who allowed their wild dog.
I'm gonna roll a clip.
As you see, this guy's had other run-ins with other people, even one of our army serving his country, and he was still treated the same way. It's something about when they get that badge on. And most of these incidents, you'll notice, are younger cops in between the ages of 30 and 40. Quick to shoot, quick to attack. Mostly black people. Wish I could word it another way, but I can't. It's something in society when your children are treated differently than their children. You're not going to get the benefit of a doubt in America if you're black. And maybe that's something we have to teach our kids. Yes, someone should have been working with this young lady way before it got to this point, and then she wouldn't have been defiant. She would have got her books and just walked out, or she wouldn't have been doing what she was doing in the first place. That's a whole different issue. That's an issue that's internal in the workings of the black community, or the black family. We got a whole lot of work to do there before we can do anything with anybody else. But unfortunately, whoever she's with, like I say, she lost her mother recently, and she's got some foster parents, and who knows what's going on in this young lady's house. But what we can know for sure is now she's got a negative attitude toward the police, and that's not going away today or tomorrow, and it may never go away. And hopefully, somewhere down the line, she doesn't have another confrontation and wind up getting herself in more of a situation like our sister Sandra Bland. Yeah, you have a right to voice your opinion and everything, but when you're dealing with this type of person, you may just want to be quiet and go along with the program until a later time. There was a point in one of the videos where a young man, I think his name was Tony Robinson, was saying something about, oh, when we saw Deputy Fields coming in, we knew what was about to go down. Like they had witnessed issues with this guy before. So I don't want to hear all you people like, oh, he did. No. If he's a peace officer, then establish some peace. Why didn't you call a female officer in to address this young lady? I always say treat these kids like you want kids to be treated. And some people are still going to say, hey, she had it coming. Well, he had it coming too. In this world, you can do what you want to, but you're going to have to deal with the consequences. So whatever you do, there's a consequence. I'm shocked, and I'm sure a lot of people, I've heard people all on the radio talking about it, how they would get arrested if that was their child. And you couldn't say nothing about it if it was your child, and you saw your child being abused and things like this. Someone may have to restrain you. You don't know what you're doing until you're in that situation. That's a bad situation. I can't say nothing about the upbringing. She's a minor, so you can't find a whole lot of information about her. But certain kids in the class said she wasn't doing anything. She wasn't disruptive. She was over there on her phone or whatever. That's the teacher not having control of the class. And that's what this whole thing is about tonight. Who's in control of the class? There is no way we behave the way that these kids behave now because the teachers had control of the class. There was another video that's circulating where there's about 5 or 6 kids and there's a substitute teacher, and these kids are acting a plum fool. They're diving on the desk. They're saying all types of crazy stuff to her. And she's so afraid of possibly losing her job because she knows in the system, no matter what these kids do, I can't do nothing about it. There was a teacher, I saw a video. The student is wailing on this teacher, beating her down. Teacher didn't want to fight her. Teacher goes ahead and gets up off of her, starts fighting. Boom, you're fired. So the system makes it impossible almost for these teachers to have any control. And that's a sad thing. And originally I wanted to go into teaching years ago. And I saw this nonsense and I was like, no, I'm not going to put myself in there because I would be like all Joe Clark up in there. But that's what they need. That's the problem with the public school system. But it's not only the public school system, it's society as a whole. You're going to take the same rules that you use out in your nice neighborhoods where the same conditions don't exist, where there's nobody slanging drugs on the corner and there's not a heavy recruitment of gangs and there's not a high level of unemployment. It's culturally it's like two different rules. So you may have to institute certain rules in certain areas to maintain some type of discipline. But that's been taken away from the teachers. And so I feel for the teachers. But as a man, I think that teacher should have been able to somehow finesse it and ask her to step out in the hall, or can I have a private conversation with you? Can we get to the bottom of what's going on here? I'm not going to take your phone or whatever, but I need you to talk to me. Clear the classroom if you have to. Whatever you have to do to get control of that whole classroom. There's another video out there. I didn't spend a whole lot of time collecting all these videos. You can look them up yourself. Where 2 kids were trying to have a fight in the classroom, and the teacher did step in, and he shut it down. And that's what your responsibility is from day one. When the kids come into class with that nonsense, you shut it down day one. You tell them, we're not going to have a problem unless you make it a problem. Now, everybody that feel like they want to make it a problem, let's line up right now. Let's go ahead and get you on down to the office, get you on out of here. I remember I had an incident. This is back in the 80s when I was in high school, and the teacher wanted to give me some licks, and I couldn't take any more licks. I had like so many licks the day before, and he wanted to give me 6 licks, and I was like, I can't take the licks today. So he asked me to leave the class. I got up and I left the class. The vice principal came and found me in the cafeteria, made a whole big scene. I explained to her the same reason. I couldn't take those licks. I had been taking licks for years. I had no problem taking licks, but this particular day I was not going to be able to take the licks. She marches me right back to class after we have a talk. She marches me right back to class. I apologize for interrupting the educational process. I take my seat. The teacher comes over, has a small conversation with me, says, I don't want to hear nothing else from you. He was pissed. I did what was suspected of me, and there was no problem. I can remember that same teacher taking me and other people into the washroom, giving us a couple of punches in the chest, straightening us out. No problem. We were raised under a different frame. You go to school to get your education. The teachers aren't there to deal with all your problems, but that's where the social agencies come in. If someone knows that this young lady was having a rough time at the home life, they should have been trying to get her into some counseling, trying to find out where she's at. So many of our kids slip through the cracks because they feel nobody cares. They feel nobody's there with them. I did mentoring for 4 years at my church, and you'd be amazed at the things that the kids would tell us, how they were embarrassed about their home life, how their lights were out, how they didn't have enough food, how their parents were on drugs, how their fathers left. It's just all types of things that these kids are going through. And a lot of it is our internal problems in our own black communities. And I'm always going to stress we need to get that together before we're trying to be so integrated in America. We can't integrate with ourselves. And that's a problem. And that's going to continue to be a problem until we all find some type of solution to helping ourselves, helping our children, developing our communities, and then we don't have to always see this type of nonsense. We don't always have to try to put our kids in different schools, hoping that they're going to get a better education because you feel that they're safer there. Just saw from this video, they're not safer there. It's a whole lot of underlying things going on out here in society that people want to overlook and act like it doesn't happen. It is happening. And like I say at the beginning, just everybody sitting around and not saying anything. Maybe it's just my defiant nature that I don't like to see that. Even if it was a white kid, I would expect somebody to jump up and say something. If it was my kid, I would expect him to say something. And the charges have been dropped against that second young lady that did stand up. But like she said, she just turned around and let him handcuff her because obviously she has seen this guy's behavior too. So nobody gets a pass. She doesn't get a pass for being a bad student, but he definitely doesn't get a pass for what he did. He should have been fired. From what I read, he's barred from working in any schools. The sheriff did come out against him, and the sheriff said he was appalled too. So good for the sheriff. We got to stop this type of behavior when it starts because it's deeper than that. That's not the first time, and whether you feel disrespected or not, we've all felt disrespected by some teenagers or whatever. We're not allowed to stomp them down and beat them down even more than society beats them down now. At some point, we got to find that level that's going to allow them to grow and be productive in society. This type of action is not going to do that for that young lady. That young lady is now scarred for life. And if you try to talk to her now and say, well, all police officers aren't like that, give everybody a chance, she ain't going to hear that. And for everybody that's had a bad interaction with a cop, whether you were doing nothing or doing something. I've had altercations with police officers where I was not doing anything, but they don't even want you saying I wasn't doing anything. Anything you say can and will be held against you. You can believe that. Just wanted to get that out and vent. Hopefully everybody had a great day. But we're going to end it like we always do. In the words of Don Cornelius, love, peace, soul. We out of here.